Hi there, this is Terry from Stamping Magic. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have two projects to share with you. The first is this beautiful card, and then this small gift box with a shaker top. Now this measures 3 inches square and is 2 inches deep. So it's a perfect size either for a small gift or for some lovely sweet treats. I used some of the Noble Peacock Specialty Designer Series paper and also some of the Noble Peacock foil sheets. The die I used is from the Tasteful Backgrounds die, and I cut it for the top of my box, and then I used the waste from it for my card. Now I haven't decided what I'm going to use these for yet, but when I do, I'll add a simple strip sentiment across the centre of my die cut. So this could be a Christmas gift, it could be a birthday gift, or it could be a thank you gift, or anything else in fact. So let's get started. These are all the measurements you need for the various elements required to create this project. So if you're interested in reproducing it, you can take a screenshot and refer to it later. I'm going to score the base of my box first, and I've got some of the Noble Peacock Specialty Designer Series paper, which is actually cardstock. Now I don't like to score foil card on the right side, so I've turned it over and I'm scoring at 2 inches on all sides. Then for the lid, I've got some of the Noble Peacock foil sheets, and this is in Old Olive, and again I'm scoring on the reverse, and this time at 1 inch on all sides. There's just a little bit of cutting required for this box, and basically all we have to do is create tabs on each of the corners for both the base and the lid. So I'm going to cut up the score line, and then I'm going to take a notch off either side of that corner tab and then rotate my cardstock. And I'm going to do this for each corner for both pieces. So cut up the score line, notch the corner tab, and then turn your cardstock. I'm now going to fold on all the score lines and burnish the folds using my bone folder. I'm going to use my Tombow multi-purpose adhesive to put this box together, basically because it's the glue I prefer to use for almost anything. But you may find it easier to use a strong tape adhesive instead. When you glue foil cardstock, especially when you're gluing it to itself, it can take an absolute age to dry, so you have to be careful that things don't move while it's drying. That's the only reason I would suggest using a tape adhesive, because it's permanent straight away. But like I said, I prefer to use Tombow. So all you want to do is for each of the corner tabs, add your glue on the right side, and then tuck it behind the side piece and stick it down. And when you do each corner, make sure the corner is completely square and that it remains completely square, especially if you're using wet glue. So again, I'm just going to add glue to that corner tab and then tuck it behind the adjacent side section and stick it down. And I'm going to repeat this for all the corners on both pieces. Once you've completed both pieces, you can add the lid to the box and then just check the corners, make sure they're still square, and then I would just leave it alone and let it dry for a bit. For the shaker element, I've got a square of the Noble Peacock Designer Series paper. I've got 2 pieces of acetate, slightly smaller than the first square, and then I've got some of the Noble Peacock foil sheet, which is slightly larger. The first thing I'm going to do is die cut this Designer Series paper square. Now it's a normal sandwich for my Big Shot, so it's the platform, thin die adapter and then an acrylic plate. These are the Tasteful background dies, and I'm using the one that looks like a fleur-de-lis, I think it's called. So I'm going to centre that on my cardstock. And then I'm going to run it through my Big Shot. When it comes back, I'm just going to take the acrylic plates off together and just put them to one side. And then I'm going to turn them upside down, carefully remove the plate. I was hoping that all the bits would remain in the die, but they haven't. It's always the case. So I've got my piece for the top of the shaker, and all the other little bits I'm going to save for my card. So I want to carefully put them back into the die. For this next bit, I'm going to use some Glad Press and Seal. Now this is an American product, but you can get it in the UK on Amazon and eBay. So I've cut a piece, and it's a bit like cling film in a way, but it's sticky on one side and it's quite low tack. So I'm going to press the sticky side on top of my die, and I'm making sure that it's stuck to each one of those tiny little pieces. Then I'm going to flip it over and carefully remove the die, and I want all those little pieces to remain behind on the press and seal. I've got another piece of the press and seal, and I'm going to place that over the top with the sticky side down, flip it over, and then carefully peel my first piece away, again leaving all those little bits in position. Then I'll put this to one side, ready for my card later. Okay, now back to the shaker top for the box. The first thing I'm going to do is add one of the sheets of acetate to the reverse of this die cut piece. So I'm laying down some red line tape. This is just 1/8 of an inch wide. And I'm going to put that all the way around and then remove the backing. Then I can add the acetate on top. Next, I'm going to add some of our foam strips on top of the acetate. Now these foam strips are a perfect size. They're about 3 millimeters high, which is about 1/8 of an inch. So it's perfect if you want to add sequins. So I'm just adding this all the way round, making sure there's no gaps in the corners. And then I can remove the backing. For the filler, I've just got some silver sequins here, and these are from our retired frosted sequins pack. And I'm also going to add just a little of our ice stamping glitter. Then I can position the second acetate piece on top, and that will seal my shaker. Now, unfortunately, because the foam strips are white, they do stand out like a bit of a sore thumb on the top of the box. So what I've done is taken my Night of Navy Stamping Blends alcohol marker. We don't actually have a blueberry bushel one. And I've gone around the lid on the edge of the cardstock and also the foam strips and coloured them. So you don't notice them at all now on the top of the box. Now, if you haven't got a Night of Navy Blends, you could use the Blueberry Bushel Stampin' Right marker or any similar colour, or even if you've got a Sharpie marker of a similar colour, that would work too. I've added more red line tape along the edges of that second piece of acetate, and I've just removed the backing, and now I can position this little shaker on top of the foil layer, and you should have an even border all the way round of the foil showing. I can now add the 4 strips of Noble Peacock Designer Series paper to the sides of the box lid. And again, I'm using wet glue, so they will take a while to dry. You just have to be careful not to move them. And then I can glue the shaker to the top of the box. Okay, now back to the card. So I have all the little pieces stuck onto that little sheet of press and seal, and I'm going to add glue to all the individual bits. You don't want to add too much because if it seeps onto foil, it's difficult to remove. Now, to get rid of the excess glue, I'm just going to drop it lightly on some scrap paper, not press it down, just touch it gently, and that will remove most of the excess. And then, holding on to the sides of that press and seal, I can easily position these die cut pieces onto my cardstock panel, and then press them down, and finally carefully peel off that press and seal. I'm then going to add the panel onto some of the Noble Peacock foil, the Old Olive. My card base is in Blueberry Bushel, and it's a top folding portrait card. For the inside, I have another strip of that Noble Peacock Designer Series paper. I'm just going to add that towards the bottom of a Whisper White mat, and then this will be positioned inside the card base. Then I have another mat of that same Specialty Designer Series paper, and I'm adding this to the front of my card. Now, I meant to colour the edges of this before I positioned it, but I completely forgot. So if you do use this foiled paper, it's a good idea to run your blender pen or marker around the edges to colour them, just to get rid of that white. Then I can add my main panel to the front of the card. And then if you want to add a sentiment, you can do that now. But as I said before, I'm not sure what I'll use these for yet. And you can position your sentiment anywhere on the card. It's up to you. And that's it, my card is complete. A very simple card, but very pretty because of the gorgeous foiled papers. And the same with the box. It just has a very simple shaker top, but it's something just a little bit different. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Bye for now.